Over the past 4 years, I have covered the journeys of some of Big Brother's best winners in ridiculously expansive detail. I've pinpointed the moments where a player took hold of the game and never looked back until confetti rained down upon their shoulders. I've explained the best strategies that players have taken advantage of to become the greats of this game we all love to talk about. So, what would happen if I did the opposite? What if instead of detailing a player's impressive, dominant journey throughout a season, I talked about a player's ridiculously horrible, self-inflicted downfall? Someone who managed to shoot themselves in the foot in such a way that they are widely regarded as the worst Big Brother player of all time. Meet Jacob Heald, the underachiever of today's story. The thing about Jacob that makes him stand out over the rest is the fact that he did it completely to himself. He didn't get unlucky. The house wasn't against him at the start. Nope. He actually found himself to be in a decent position, but somehow found a way to turn the tables on himself and tank his game like nobody ever has before. So sit back, relax, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and enjoy yourself. This is the story of how Jacob Heald lost Big Brother 9.
I'm Jacob, and only the righteous will prevail.
Forgive me sins that I committed.
Jacob Heald was a 23-year-old electrician from Atlanta, Georgia, and he was maybe a fan of the show. I couldn't really tell by looking at his interview questions, but what I could tell is that he seemingly had a fixation on his ex-girlfriend. Not once, but twice did he bring her up in his little preseason biography. The first time was him admitting that he still had feelings for the woman who was his childhood sweetheart, and the second time was describing a tattoo he had that was a symbol that his ex had made. So, heading into the season, all we really knew about Jacob was that he was a religious electrician who missed his old girlfriend. Not a lot to go off of, but maybe we'd get a better read on him once he entered the house and found his footing. So, let's jump to night 1 and see how Jacob fared.
This is your only ally. You can't believe anybody else but this guy right here.
Jacob entered the Big Brother 9 house alongside 15 other strangers, and it took literally 3 seconds for his entire world to flip upside down. Jacob was smacked in the face with the realization that there weren't actually 15 strangers in this house with him. There were only 14. Because sitting on the couch amongst his soon-to-be competitors was the ex-girlfriend he evidently still had feelings for, Sharon.
You see your ex-girlfriend, and then you're just like, damn it.
Time for some backstory. Jacob and Sharon grew up together, started talking when Jacob chose to follow Sharon home one day in the 8th grade, and had basically been a couple in love ever since. They were in it for the long haul, and they thought that their relationship was capable of going the distance. But after high school, Jacob went overseas to serve in the military, and soon after he got back, the two of them split up. Because Jacob cheated on her, as the show presents. The two of them both claimed that the relationship was for roughly 12 years, which means if you do the math, then their breakup must have been extremely close to the time that this season began.
Jacob and I dated on and off for 12 years. I'm the one that got screwed over.
This was the relationship that had the potential, but I ultimately cheated on her. I have not talked to her since that has happened.
So imagine the stress and the overwhelming feeling of entering the Big Brother house in general. Now, on top of that, add in the emotional shock of seeing your ex-lover of 12 years in that house with you while the feelings of the breakup were still raw.
I had to regain consciousness. It was like a blow to the face.
Yeah, this was a devious setup by Big Brother. They knew exactly what they were doing, and it was a recipe for disaster. As soon as Jacob saw Sharon, he internally freaked out and immediately had to walk into another room in order to get his bearings straight. And I don't blame him. Jacob, coincidentally, found himself in one of the bedrooms, and with the stress of the universe on his shoulders, I think the best thing for him would have been to get a good night's sleep. Unfortunately for him, he was missing the most vital piece of equipment to make it happen. A sleep mask from Manta Sleep, the sponsor of today's video. Look, summer is fast approaching, and while that does mean more Big Brother for us, it also means extra daylight and later sunsets, which can be a good thing, but it can also throw off your sleep without you even realizing it. We've all had those moments when you're trying to sleep, but the bright sun outside seems to overpower your eyelids and make it impossible to get that good rest that you need. But that's where Manta Sleep comes in. Manta Sleep masks completely block out all light. I am talking 100% blackout. So, whether you're trying to catch a few extra hours of sleep in the morning or just trying to relax on the beach, you can enjoy total darkness no matter how long the sun stays up. So, right now, as I'm talking to you, I can't see you. But I also can't hear you because my sleep mask, the Manta Sound Sleep Mask, also comes equipped with Bluetooth speakers. So this whole time that I've been talking to you, I've actually been listening to my favorite music. There are tons of other sleep masks offered on Manta Sleep's website, and with the special Beat the Light offer spanning from May 26th to June 8th of 2025, you can receive some really special discounts. I'm talking 15% off orders where you spend over $99 and 20% off orders where you spend over $149. And on top of that, the first 500 customers to shop during this sale will receive their founder's favorite sleep accessory kit absolutely free. So do yourself a favor and go to Manta Sleep's website by clicking the link in my description or the pinned comment and use my code Ethanimale10 at checkout for an additional 10% off your order. Thanks again to Manta Sleep for sponsoring today's video, and with that, let's get back to Jacob. After regaining his metaphorical consciousness, Jacob put on a brave face and went back out to the living room for the introductions. Everyone said hello, their spirits all seemed pretty high, but then Julie appeared on the television and announced the game-changing twist for the season. The players would not be playing this game individually. Instead, they'd be playing with a partner. Big Brother 9 was touted to be the season of love. So, before the game began, each player was asked a set of questions about their ideal romantic partner. Based on this questionnaire, Big Brother was able to determine a perfect match for each person sitting in the living room, their soulmate. One by one, Julie would read off the perfect matches, and these soulmates would be partners in the game and play together as one. They would sleep in the same beds together. They would win HOH together. They would be nominated together, and they would be evicted together. This was a completely game-changing twist, and it didn't take a genius to figure out what would happen next. Julie started naming off the couples, and after 5 sets of perfect matches had been created, Julie announced that the 6th perfect match would be Jacob and Sharon.
Jacob and Sharon. Good luck.
That's a cute couple, you guys. Go hold some hands.
Based on their body language, you could tell that neither of them really knew what to think in this moment. But Jacob was actually really happy to be paired with Sharon. He still had feelings for her, so he absolutely did not want to see her get coupled up with another guy in the house.
It's really tough to know that there could be a soulmate here for her that's not me. I love Sharon. The feelings are still there.
Unfortunately for Jacob, Sharon was not nearly as thrilled to be coupled up together. She was still very angry with him for cheating on her, and she made sure to let him know how irritated she was that they were now attached to the hip in this game.
Talking about it makes me just want to punch him right now. Oh,
Did you really not want it to happen? No. Are you really that irritated about it?
yeah, a little bit.
Regardless of what they were feeling about each other, though, they needed to work through that and find a way to work together if they wanted to succeed in the game. If their secret got out and the other house guests found out that the two of them have known each other for 12 years, that could put a huge target on their back and make them an easy week 1 scapegoat. Luckily, Jacob hadn't told anyone so far, so as long as Sharon didn't tell anyone, then their secret was safe. This would have been a perfect plan, had Sharon not already told 3 people.
How many people have you told? Nobody?
Yeah, Unfortunately for Jacob, as soon as Sharon saw him walk through the front door, she immediately told fellow houseguest Amanda, and I guess 2 others, that her ex was in the house. So their cover was already blown. So much for that plan. While this may not have been the ideal start Jacob was hoping for, there was at least one saving grace. One of the other pairs, Adam and Sheila, didn't get along right from the start, and they made it known to the entire house. They were constantly bickering, talking trash about the other to whoever would listen to them, and just putting a gigantic bullseye on themselves simply because they were disgusted to be paired up together. All the attention was on Adam and Sheila, so as long as Jacob and Sharon didn't actively go out of their way to put the spotlight on themselves, then they would probably survive this first week.
As much as I don't like it, you don't like it, okay? But don't make an attitude over it. I'll get across. Yeah, you're being vicious, you know what I mean? You really are, but soulmate my ass.
Now, typically, this is where we would get into the first HOH competition. But Big Brother was shaking things up once more. Instead of competing for the HOH this first week, the pairs would be competing to become the power couple. Whichever pair won the competition and became the power couple would not only earn safety for this first round, but they would have the sole power to evict any other soulmate pair of their choosing. No questions asked. There would be no veto, no extra way to save yourself. The power couple would pick any couple they wanted, and they would be evicted from the game. That was a lot of power, and it made the stakes extremely high. And as if there wasn't enough pressure already, they would only be given like a day to make their decision. So, going into the competition, Jacob and Sharon wanted to win so they could keep themselves safe.
So I was just like, okay, let's do it.
Hell yeah.
Unfortunately, they couldn't quite pull it out, dropping out of the competition in 5th place. And instead, the pairing of Jen and Parker won, and they became the power couple. Now, all things considered, this was actually a pretty solid outcome for Jacob. Sharon and Parker had hit it off pretty much right away. So the odds of Power choosing to evict Sharon seemed pretty unlikely.
Parker and I just kind of off the bat became close. I definitely don't think that I will be going home anytime soon.
On top of that, there was a super easy target that practically everyone could agree on. Not only were Adam and Sheila still at each other's throats, but they also finished in last place in the competition.
We're both going home. I went out.
There literally could not have been an easier pair to target as the power couple. So all Jacob needed to do was zip his lips and eat some oatmeal, and he and Sharon would survive this first round.
Right now on my radar is Sheila and Adam, just because of the negative energy.
Now, at this point, some of you might be a little bit confused. This video was supposed to be about the worst player in Big Brother history, but we're like 10 minutes in, and Jacob hasn't really done anything wrong, except for cheating on his girlfriend. But in terms of the game, he was doing fine. He hadn't told anyone about his history with Sharon. He had been keeping his cool, despite Big Brother throwing grenade after grenade in his direction. He was even laying low and letting other people shoot themselves in the foot. Jacob wasn't playing like Dan Giesling or anything, but he was doing a fine job and certainly hadn't done anything to warrant being called the worst player of all time. However, all of that was about to change. It was almost as if a switch flipped on inside Jacob's head, a switch that told him to tank his game at full force for absolutely no reason. So, without further ado, I present to you the downfall of Jacob.
You want to stir stuff up. That's something that brings enjoyment to this house. I definitely like to turn the chicken up.
After Jen and Parker won the power couple, Jacob was in the backyard with Adam and Ryan. Just 3 dudes hanging out and playing some pool. Instead of being chill though, Jacob decided that he wanted to stir things up. So Jacob made a comment saying that the absolute worst people in the house became the power couple because Parker was a backstabber that would do anything to win the money, and that the second Jacob won HOH, he was taking down Parker.
You know, the worst people of the whole game got power couple. Parker's snake. Backstabber. Wait till I get HOH. His ass is out.
Now, I have absolutely no idea why Jacob was saying this. As far as I'm aware, Parker didn't do a single thing to warrant Jacob wanting to come at him full throttle. But for whatever reason, Jacob was just going in on Parker. A couple minutes later, Jen walked out and joined them. But instead of changing the topic or just keeping quiet, Jacob doubled down. Jacob told Jen that people in the house were saying that Parker was a snake and that he seemed gutless and heartless. Let's remember that not only was Jen partners with Parker, so obviously Jen was going to tell Parker what Jacob was saying, but they were also the power couple. Jacob, why are you singling out the only two people in the house that have the power to evict you tomorrow? If you want to give Jacob the tiniest benefit of the doubt, he at least was making an attempt to cause chaos and direct Jen and Parker in the direction of someone else in the house. Jacob wasn't outright saying that he was the one spewing all the hate about Parker, but rather people in the house were saying that. And Jacob, being the good soul that he is, was simply relaying this information to Jen.
Everybody's just saying he's a snake. What I've been hearing, Parker seems gutless, heartless. I just want to let you know what's going on.
Oh man.
However, there were just so many holes in Jacob's plan. For starters, he was openly spewing hate about Parker to both Adam and Ryan before Jen joined them in the backyard, so both of them would know that Jacob was lying. Also, Jacob's claims that people in the house are calling Parker a snake have absolutely zero credibility if he doesn't give out any names or if nobody else backs him on it. And since Jacob was completely making this up and there wasn't anyone actually talking badly about Parker other than himself, nobody would be on Jacob's side. The craziest part about all of this is that Jacob genuinely didn't think that Jen was going to tell Parker about this.
I don't know why Jacob wouldn't have suspected that Jen wouldn't go tell her partner.
What a faker.
No, she's going to the bathroom, dude.
Obviously, that wasn't the case. And immediately after Jacob told Jen the anti-Parker propaganda, she went and told Parker about it. Parker went outside and confronted Jacob straight up, calling him out on his BS and asking for names if it was true. Obviously, it wasn't true, so Jacob didn't give him a name. But even the way that Jacob didn't give a name was so bad.
I'll tell you what's cold as hell, Korea.
I'll tell you what's cold. The fact that you think people think I'm a snake. Who told you that?
Yeah.
I don't think it's my business.
It is your business.
No. Why don't you go out and find out for yourself?
He basically goaded Parker into figuring it out himself, which led to Parker calling his bluff and waking everyone in the house up for a house meeting in the living room. Once everyone was assembled, Parker explained the situation and why he woke everyone up. He said that Jacob was telling Jen that people in the house were calling him a snake, and he wanted whoever said it to speak up and own it. Obviously, nobody came forward because nobody had said anything. So then, things turned on to Jacob. Parker, Jen, and Amanda were like, "Hey Jacob, nobody is stepping forward. So you should save yourself and just tell us who said it. Call them out." Jacob, having nobody to actually call out, sputtered out a pretty poor defense, saying that he shouldn't have to be the one to single somebody out when they were the ones who called Parker a snake in the first place. At this point, nobody believed Jacob was telling the truth, and everyone started digging into him for starting something that he couldn't finish.
He was telling my partner people think I'm a snake.
Who said it?
Call him out. Call him out.
Save your side.
Somebody said it. Who said it? Why do I have to be the one that says you did it?
If you're gonna throw something on the table, you better back it up.
You're looking like a liar. I overheard somebody say Parker.
Who was it? Get out of here.
I did the right thing.
I feel like he just said it. He doesn't have the to back it up.
What started as a house meeting to figure out who called Parker a snake quickly turned into a big old bashing session on Jacob. And he had nobody to blame but himself. He didn't have to announce his plans to target Parker to Adam and Ryan. He didn't have to make up a lie to Jen and tell her that people were calling Parker a snake. He didn't have to triple down once Parker got involved and goad him into finding the answers himself. And he didn't have to keep the lie going once he was sitting in front of the entire house. Jacob shot himself in the foot at every step of the way. And his actions directly led to a house meeting that resulted in himself being exposed as an untrustworthy liar that was needlessly starting and causing problems in the house. If this was a last-ditch effort to save himself, then that's one thing. But Jacob was not in danger. He and Sharon were both safe, and Adam and Sheila were going to get evicted. But now, because of his own actions, Jacob had redirected Jen and Parker's sights onto himself and Sharon.
Jacob man just kept me in this game, calling up and saying something like that.
And for what? What was Jacob actually trying to accomplish with this? Did he really hate Parker so much that he couldn't help himself from trying to turn the house against him even while Parker was still in power? Did he think that someone would magically just admit to calling Parker a snake and then Jacob would look like a hero or something? I genuinely don't know what benefits Jacob possibly thought he could get out of this outside of his desire to simply stir stuff up and cause chaos. If that was truly his sole intention, then congratulations, Jacob. You got your wish. But it came at the expense of your entire game. And Sharon's game. Poor Sharon. She came into this season excited to play Big Brother, but was forced to be partnered with her ex-boyfriend who cheated on her, and then he pulled this Parker stunt without her having any idea that it was happening. She was just as blindsided as the rest of the house when Parker woke them up for the house meeting.
Why did you do that and not tell me when you stirred that pot up real hard and you're just totally in your own little Jacob world and oblivious to everything's gonna happen?
Now, crazily enough, there actually was still some hope for Jacob to stay alive in the game. But it was no thanks to Jacob. No, he did nothing else to try and save himself. Instead, Sharon had to come to the rescue and try to clean up his mess. All Parker had been wanting was a name. But since Jacob wasn't giving a name, then Parker just had to assume that Jacob was making it all up. So the next morning, Sharon went up to Parker and gave him a name that made a little bit of sense. Ryan. Ryan was outside with Jacob when Jacob was sputtering all the Parker nonsense. So him being at the scene of the crime did make him a viable suspect. Parker trusted Sharon, and because of it, it seemed like he was buying it, and Ryan and his partner Allison shot up to the top of his target list.
Jacob and I are a package deal. If the target's on him, it's on me.
Ryan? If Ryan can't come clean about calling me a snake, then I don't see any point in keeping him in the game.
Unfortunately, this plan never stood a chance of working, because Ryan and Jen were actually a secret twist, just like Jacob and Sharon were. However, instead of being exes, they were actively dating. So there was no way that Jen was going to allow Parker to evict Ryan. It was a valiant effort by Sharon, a much better one than anything Jacob had done, but they became the targets once more once Ryan's name was off the table.
Me and Ryan are dating and have been for almost a year. I can't send him home.
Holy.
Then, before anyone was prepared for it, the house guests found out that it was time for Parker and Jen to evict a couple. Like, right now. The damage that Jacob had done proved to be too much to overlook, and with the sole vote to evict, Jen and Parker evicted Jacob and Sharon from the Big Brother house.
I feel bad for her, but her partner we can't look past it.
We love you, but unfortunately, we're gonna have to evict Jacob and sorry, baby Sharon.
Sharon, I'm so sorry.
This eviction was kind of crazy. Both Jen and Parker were crying because they absolutely did not want to evict Sharon. But Jacob had caused so much turmoil and sunk his game so hard that they simply could not overlook it. Their desire to get rid of Jacob was stronger than their desire to keep Sharon, and they had to evict them because of it.
Why did she have to be with him? Why? Why couldn't she have been with somebody else?
It's actually kind of impressive just how badly Jacob played after the power couple competition. I genuinely don't know what more he could have done to tank his game. There was never a single word that left his mouth that put him in a better position than if he had just said nothing. Jacob should have been safe here. He was going to survive the first eviction, but he went out of his way to single out the one person who had the power to evict him. And he did so in a way that would not only get the power couple to turn on him, but basically everyone else as well. And it was for no reason. So that is why Jacob Heald is largely regarded as the worst player in Big Brother history.
Gotta do his job, right?
On the player scale from 1 to 10, Jacob will get the lowest score of everyone, ever. A 1.1 out of 10. The only reason it's not a flat 1 is because his first few hours in the house really weren't bad. But that's not gonna excuse the fact that there has literally never been a more needless self-destruct in the show's history. There was no luck factor involved in Jacob's demise. It was all 100% his own doing. The only player that comes close in my eyes to being on Jacob's level is Willie Hantz, but Willie at least had a few extra days of medium gameplay before flushing his game down the toilet, whereas Jacob flushed his game at a much earlier point in the season. But hey, at least Jacob was an active player.
Well, I was about to be woke up.
Rise and shine.
Before I end it off, I wanted to leave you all with some good news. While Jacob did drag Sharon underwater with him and got her evicted too, she actually got a second chance. A few days after their eviction, Neil unexpectedly quit the game, leaving Joshua without a partner. Because having a partner was such a crucial part of the season, the producers allowed Joshua to pick a new partner, with his two options being Jacob or Sharon. Joshua obviously didn't want a nuclear bomb as his partner, so he happily chose Sharon, and she was allowed to re-enter the game and get a very well-deserved second chance.
Let's see, Jacob, who was basically hated in the house, or Sharon, it was kind of a no-brainer. I went with Sharon.
In a way, this was like Jacob got evicted a second time. And funnily enough, there was even an additional opportunity for a pre-juror to get voted back into the game. But obviously, Jacob was not voted in. So he kinda had 3 chances, and it just never went right for him. So that's Jacob's story.
Okay, here's just another episode to Jacob's life. Just another chapter in the book to turn, I guess.
And there we go. I thought it would be a fun idea to switch up my usual formula and take a look at someone with truly atrocious gameplay. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I, of course, need to give that extra special shout out to all of my YouTube members and patrons who would easily be better players than Jacob, although I guess that's not really saying that much. And, as always, here's a clip for you on your way out.
I think about Sharon, you know what I mean? I love Sharon. If I got back in the house, me and Sharon would definitely spice some things up.
Will Sharon vote for the mystery house guest knowing that Jacob might be in the box? Who would you like to bring back, the mystery house guest or James?
James, please.
What the hell? Why did they put Jacob and I together? Oh, I hate that.
Here he is, folks. He's back.
I've always wanted to be on a reality show, so it's kind of like a dream come true.
Are you a fan of the show? Have you always been?
Just, no, not really, to tell you the truth.